Hi, happy Pentecost, happy Feast of Pentecost, the descent of the Holy Spirit. I'm actually a little bothered by a video that has come out in the past night. It came out yesterday, apparently, the eve of the Feast of Pentecost. Basically, the Feast of Pentecost, when the Holy Spirit descends down upon the apostles, changing them. It is an interaction between God and man, the first true such interaction since the incarnation and before in the creation itself. You see a few cases, burning bush, etc., but ultimately, God does not generally interact with men until the coming of Christ. And this is the most salient point about that. Now, why I'm saying this is because of the fact that this particular video that I have on my screen, this Eastern Orthodoxy Exposed, the heretical doctrine of God, it's it's head palming and it's awful, just because of the number of false misrepresentations that are made constant through repetition, and I'm going to go through a couple of them. Uh, just quickly, don't worry, I'm not going to take an hour, and I'm not going to speak in a try to like hypnotize you with like my drone and boring voice. The first thing is he mentions hesychasm, and he calls it quietism. That's you see that's the evil of deception again. The term hesychasm, well, for stillness, it can be translated as quietism, but it is not what Roman Catholics define as quietism. Quietism, or Molinism, was a 17th century heresy, which was something that was kind of twisted. Just basically do nothing and God will fill you. It's literally not what hesychasm is. Um, so the first thing we have to talk about is the false understanding of hesychasm that the Dimond brothers have, and I'm going to tell you why they have it when we get there. So we start at the beginning of the video here. We get to these showing various videos and stuff, and he's going to say, in God the essence is distinct and different from the energy. He's absolutely right, and this is how good heresies are written is that they mix a lot of the truth with just a tiny bit of falsehood. This part is actually correct. He then starts, talking about the he starts talking about the meeting of Barlaam the Calabrian with the Hesychast. Excuse my language. Being that Saint Gregory Palamas was an archbishop, he was an abbot. Barlaam the Calabrian was an up and coming philosopher, and basically he did not actually he wasn't sure what to believe on these things. And when he heard about these people that were claiming that they were experiencing God through prayer, and then somehow got obsessed with the idea of the navel because he saw them looking down. We'll get to that. Basically, began accusing them of heresy. Long story short, St. Gregory Palamas appeals to the writings of the Church Fathers, so on and so forth. Council is held, Barlaam's condemned, Gregory is vindicated, and Barlaam goes and, still ambitious, leaves, becomes a Roman Catholic, tries to become a missionary, fails, dies of the bubonic plague. Anyway, so that's the end of that story. But on the other hand, we have St. Gregory Palamas, who basically, in explaining the difference between the essence and the energies of God, the essence being transcendent, what is untouchable, and the energies or operations being the actions of God in the created universe, in our world. That's the big difference between the idea of essence and energies. Those are the two different things. Barlaam the Calabrian basically didn't hold any of that. He held to the idea that God was completely transcendent, does not in any way, shape, or form interact except through created objects um, with his creation. The problem we have with this, of course, is if you believe in something called the Eucharist, then you believe God comes down into the mystery. He's not a created version of God. That's actually God. So there's your problem. How is God coming down? Now, you say in the essence or the energies. Most would say both, in that the energies are what interacts with man, and the essence is untouchable because it's outside of our dimension. But that's beside the point. So we continue on, and besides having a false understanding of hesychasm, it should be noted this is an entire hour devoted to attacking St. Gregory Palamas. But let me tell you something funny about the Dimond brothers. You see, the Dimond brothers are Sedevacantist, and so they don't believe that they can go to most Roman Catholic churches. They believe that they can't touch any of them. So they only go to a couple of Byzantine Catholic churches that they happen to respect the priest, and they don't call him so much of a heretic, even though he's still with John Paul II. So I mean, with Francis I. So I don't know how they work that calculus off. But here's the funny part. The funny part is that Byzantine Catholic churches have St. Gregory Palamas in their calendar. They commemorate him on a Sunday. These people have done an hour's worth of video about someone commemorated in the very church that they're communing in. What does that tell you about them? But besides having a false understanding of hesychasm, basically, again, it comes to the idea that they're saying something about navel gazing. But even here, he manages to stick in the true words of St. Gregory. And he does it, and you see, look, he puts in yoga teachers and stuff. He does it right around here. Now, what does St. Gregory say about staring downwards? What was such a big problem? He says, how should such a one not gain great profit if, instead of letting his eye roam, should he fix it on his breast or on his navel as a point of concentration? He will also, by disposing his body in such a position, recall into the interior of the heart a power which is ever flowing outwards. What he's saying here is that if you are not, because he's talking about the Jesus prayer, that's what hesychasm is all about. It's about, it's really what it comes down to is saying the Jesus prayer in your heart. And the way you do that is through practice. And effectively, if your eye is wandering all over the place, like mine is right here, and I'm like not concentrating, you can't concentrate on your prayer. When you're praying, you have to stay still. St. Gregory understood this. Barlaam the Calabrian did not. So we continue on. Oh, wait. But to hide this simple and holy teaching, he put in a yoga teacher. He put in another yoga teacher. Hold on. Yeah, there's this one. He spends a few minutes decrying a holy teaching on concentration and prayer as yoga. So, now that we've established that what they're doing is basically evil, we continue on. The energies are less than their essence. This is something that he touches on quite a bit, and then he throws in a bunch of councils, some papal councils, some Orthodox councils, throws in some Bible verses, because he's basically you're saying that God's mutable. No, the essence is untouchable. The energies interact within creation. Creation is mutable, and therefore the energies operate inside that dimension. Now, of course, since there is no distinction to Barlaam the Calabrian, ironically, the distinction is mentioned with operations with Thomas Aquinas, who he also quotes, but that's beside the point. The distinction between the essence and the operations is what allows God to interact with us and still at the same time be unapproachable. So this whole idea, he starts quoting, let's just find some fun ones here. Okay, hold on, let's see. Okay, let's see. Okay. He quotes the First Council of Constantinople. We believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and all things visible and invisible. This is a proof to him that somehow the energies, because by now he's gone to the point that if the energy is the lesser, that's a lesser God. It's either the God is mutable or it's a lesser God, blah, blah, blah. And it's stupid because the essence is immutable. The energies are mutable because it's like dealing with a hand. Again, what I mean by that is my hand's a part of me. The energies are a part of God. The essence is the soul of God. If I was to put my hand in a fish tank, for the fish, all they would see is my hand. Our world is another dimension to them. They just see the water, and they just see my hand and don't know what it is. But the ultimate reality is that there is interaction between the spiritual and physical world because of that distinction. And so, for all these fake quotes, all these misquotes, all these false statements, this is a really rotten and deceptive video, and I feel for your soul. Honestly, that's what I have to say to those guys. This is just wrong.